Welcome to the MVPreneur podcast. Have you ever considered leaving your current job to become an independent professional working with a Power Platform or Dynamics 365? Join me as I speak with my fellow MVP colleagues who have made the jump and now earn a living as independents, working on a variety of projects, delivering Microsoft Business Application services, training, and subject matter expertise. Hear about their successes and their failures, and maybe be inspired to make your own jump. Or maybe you've decided that staying in your current position is the right decision for you. Thank you for listening, and I hope you enjoy this podcast. All right, everybody, we're back again. Another episode of kind of going independent, talking to people in the community that have kind of moved away from the corporate world and gone to be independent contractors, consultants, trainers, and a whole bit. And today we have Feridun Kadir. Did I say that right?
Kadir.
Okay, Kadir.
Not bad.
It's my Canadian accent. Blame it on that.
Yeah, my British accent.
And Feridun is today from the town of Stansted in the UK, north of London. Just a very short train ride. I've had the pleasure of actually trained or taught a course at Feridun's facility, which is really great. It's a great facility. Has top end computers and a good room and a kitchen and the whole bit. So if you're looking for a place to do some training, we'll talk more about that later. So Feridun, you've been tell us a little bit about how the jump you made to being like an independent and just that a bit of that journey.
Sure. Yeah, it's a little bit of history there actually. So if I look back on my career, I actually haven't had that many employers. So I guess the longest time I spent anywhere was as an IT support person for the London Underground.
Oh, wow.
Who were building a new extension to one of the tube lines, the Jubilee line. So it's the Jubilee line extension project.
Okay.
And I left my first job after university to go there. And I was doing Unix system admin. And that was a 3-month contract. And the boss said to me, "Oh, well, I'm sorry, we've run out of money." But it wasn't the Jubilee line that I joined at London Underground to start with. And he said, "But there's this other project called the Jubilee Line project looking for people."
Okay.
So I went there and I said to the potential new boss, "Yeah, I'm happy to work here, but ideally, I probably don't want to be in London for very long because I live in Stansted." And anyway, they took me on and I ended up being there for 10 years.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
So you were commuting back and forth?
I was commuting backwards and forwards, yes. But it was a very interesting project. Learned a lot about construction at the time, which I've probably all forgotten now. Had the privilege of seeing stations and tunnels before they were fitted out and so on. But what I did there was I did Unix system admin, and then I got into the world of Microsoft at the London Underground towards the end of my time there, which I think is probably mid-1990s. So what was current then was Windows 95, Windows NT 3.5, Windows NT 4 had just appeared, I think. And as I was getting to the end of the project, of course, it was winding down. All the staff were on fixed-term contracts because they knew they wouldn't need that many people forever. Yeah. They were very generous and allowed us to study for a new career. So I said to myself, okay, I'm going to go and do Microsoft exams, having been a die-hard Unix person. So I went and did a lot of exams around the Windows 2000 also was just coming out as well. So I did some of those, networking essentials. And I also got my MCT qualification at that time because that was something I fancied doing. And so when the time came to leave London Underground, I thought, what am I going to do? So I thought I'll set myself up as a freelance trainer.
Okay.
And that was quite a big move, cushioned by the fact that I got a little bit of a payoff.
Right.
but I also was getting married at the time, so that was another worry in terms of money. But anyway, that was the choice I made. So I didn't go for another full-time job. A bit of freelance work, training, and then in that first year, met up with a friend who'd also come out of a job somewhere, and we decided we'd have a go at setting up an IT company together. And so we did. And that's where my first company name came from, Shadowfax Technology. And we set up as a Microsoft partner doing IT support for local small businesses. So although I was technically employed by that business, I kind of view it as a freelance job because I wasn't employed by a big firm. And as part of that company, we got the software from Microsoft. And I think I'm probably around 2003-4 now. And in those days, you got all your partner entitlements on CDs, and they would come in a monthly box. So each month, hey, the parcels arrived.
I think I still have a couple of those big binders. Sitting around here.
And there was never enough room. And one day there was a CD, and it's CRM 1.2. I don't think we had 1.0 in the UK. I think we had 1.2. You probably got that CD somewhere. Anyway, so I thought, what's this? So I installed it and set it up, and I think that was quite a job getting that going. And then I just looked at it, and thought, well, what's this? And I kind of put it to one side. But I was still doing training. So even though I'd set up this business with a colleague, I still did freelance training. And one day a training company said, oh, we're looking for CRM trainers. Oh, that's interesting. So I went back to the product, had another look, spent a bit more time with it. And this time I got a bit more stuck in and realized what it was all about. It was very databasey, which I was interested in anyway, and started doing freelance CRM training from that point forward. And then after a little while, I said to my business partner, I'm kind of bored of doing all this IT support stuff. I'm really going to go out on my own now. And I think we're around 2006, 2007.
Right. So how big was the company then? Was it just
it was, we had, I think, 2 staff. So it was me, the colleague, and 2 staff. We had a reasonable number of customers. I don't think we were earning masses of money, to be honest. But it was a living. So we agreed to part, all very amicable. And he's still running the business even now. So he's taken it forward. And I decided to concentrate purely on Microsoft CRM, as it was called then. And it was mostly training in the early days. And then I guess I started to grab some of my own clients. So that's when I think I truly went independent, about 12, 13 years ago. And I think I ended up doing it without really thinking about it, to be honest. It kind of just happened. So when I left London Underground, the trainer thing, somebody suggested it to me. I thought, well, that's a good idea. So I kind of followed it through. But I've always liked presenting to people. I mean, I was always the one to do presentations in the job. And that kind of fitted in with what I wanted to do. And then when I met the guy, Adam, and we decided to start this business, I like the sound of that, because I think what I really like about being independent is that you're in charge of your own destiny. Now, there are obviously a lot of drawbacks. And having been at London Underground for 10 years, and even though it was just a project, not part of the main business, we were still 1,200 staff. And clearly there's quite a lot of bureaucracy. I had at the peak 10 people working for me, and that obviously has issues, doesn't it? You've got to do appraisals, you've got to look after people, there's health and safety, and I don't miss any of that now. So I think to where I've got now, having started doing the CRM training, it grew, and I'm doing consulting work, got a lot of work with Microsoft, doing support for clients. So I've enjoyed it. I've never looked back, really. But every now and again, I just stop and think, will there be more work in 3 months, 6 months, 9 months' time? And luckily, there always is. It might not be what I expected in terms of the mix between training and project and consulting work, but there's always something there. And I guess I'm lucky to have jumped onto a product that has exploded in that time.
Yeah,
I'm
and
sure
that's
it's brilliant.
that's a very common thread. Speaking with others as well. A lot of times, you watching videos or podcast, listening to podcasts or reading books about entrepreneurship. There's always that that sales aspect, trying to find your next gig and being
Yes.
concerned, keeping your pipeline full. I think and there definitely is an aspect to that. But I've been finding because of Microsoft Business Applications, Power Platform, Dynamics CRM, that pipeline fills very easily because there is such a demand for people in this industry, whether
Yes,
it's a company
indeed.
or individuals. So I think you're
Indeed.
right. I think we're very fortunate, and I keep kind of reminding myself we're lucky to be doing what we're doing.
Yeah, absolutely agree with you. Yeah. And again, always at the back of my mind, this is extremely unlikely, but, I have to be prepared for the possibility that Microsoft might just say, we're fed up with this product. We're going to
Right.
can it.
Yeah.
It probably won't happen, but it could. And you just have to have that at the back of your mind. So I think as an independent person, you need a fallback plan, don't
Yeah.
you, really? Because things might not work out. Can you cope with a gap of a month, 2 months where there's nothing to do? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
You need to plan for that. Would I say to others, do it? I think it entirely depends on your outlook on things. If you want security of that paycheck coming in every month and you're going to fret, then maybe it's not for you.
Yeah.
The challenges are different. We were talking the other day about you having to do your accounts. That's a chore.
Yeah.
Unless you're going to pay someone or your partner is qualified in that area,
Yeah.
there are other things that you have to think about. But one of the things that I don't miss at all is the commuting.
Mm-hmm.
As I come to work, I actually walk in the direction of the station, but my office is before the station.
Yeah.
And I see people passing me, and I think, oh my God, I'm already at my office, and you still haven't got to the station.
Yeah, exactly. What is it like a 3 or 4 minute walk from your place to the
Yeah,
office?
that's right, just down the hill. It's easier coming down the hill, but it's not even 5 minutes, and yet if I was to go into London, it could be an hour or more. But I mean, I do have to travel as depending on where the training is, but it's not a regular thing. So I really enjoy that. Things that I miss, and there are things that I miss, when you're in a large company, there are obviously others around you. Mm-hmm. So you have that kind of, relationship stuff, talking to other people, and in particular, bouncing ideas off others. Because when you're doing work in CRM, 365, whatever, there are so many ways of doing things, especially if you're designing new entities and you need to map some new data that needs to be stored in the system. And you think, well, I'll do it like this. But then you think, but what if I did like that? And what do you think? Oh, but there isn't anybody to ask that question. I mean, sometimes depending on the client, you can ask them for ideas or views, but to get a kind of an independent technical assessment is, something I miss from having colleagues around me.
Yeah, and this is where I think, and this is going to lead into another question of, I mean, the fact that you've been an MVP, is it 10 years now?
I think about 10 or 11. Let me look at I'm just looking at my my date counters. It's over there now, isn't it? 2011 was the last one.
Oh wow! So this would be
the first one. Sorry, the first one.
So that's awesome. So coming up next year, it'll be like over 10 years. Yeah.
I hope there's a next year.
Well, we always do, right? There's always that.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But I hope we'll be fine. But anyways, but I just find I think in terms of someone being independent, I found I was an independent before, as not an MVP, and it worked out really well. Had good relationships. Yes. It's all about the community. Yes. But I found what you're just talking about, bouncing the ideas of something, being as part of the MVP community, you do have some of that in play. To bounce ideas and stuff on that.
Yes.
Has being an MVP helped in other aspects of your business, do you think?
I think so.
Okay.
I think so. Well, certainly, I'm pretty sure it's helped me get work with Microsoft and come to their attention. So in the past, I did a fair bit of work with the learning team.
Right.
Working on instructor-led course materials and exams. And I think sometimes people have, we've had actually, in one particular case, somebody who I'm still doing work with on an occasional basis in Belgium, it's a training center. This guy called me up and said, can you deliver us CRM courses? And I said, sure, yeah, but do you not have trainers in Belgium? And he said, no, I was looking for MVP trainers.
Ah, okay.
And clearly, I fitted the bill there, as well as they were happy for the courses to be in English. So yeah, it absolutely did help. But it and the other way, it helps having colleagues like yourself to talk to in the various chat groups that we have.
Yeah. No, I found it's helped a lot. It's just becoming an MVP doesn't give you no one pays you to be an MVP, but I found it does open some doors and put you on some radars and stuff. And I think whether you're an MVP or not, if you're involved in the community, you're out there presenting, you're writing blogs, you're doing presentations. You don't need to be an MVP.
Correct.
It's a self-promotion, self-marketing thing. So if you're, even just being independent, being involved in the community, just that alone, I think already opens up so many doors. And it's something that's well within your own, it's in your own hands to do that, to go out and do presentations and things like that. I hear, I'm sure you do too. It's people like, I don't have the time to do this, or I don't like to present or something like that. Well, but you think of it as a marketing exercise. That's where you're.
But there's lots you can do to be involved with community that isn't stand-up presentation. You could be blogging or doing videos in your own time where you don't even have to show your face. So there are different ways to engage, or even just helping by answering other people's questions. Yeah.
So I'm just gonna take a little bit of a jump here. So you're right now you're a company of one, just like myself.
Yes, correct.
Any aspirations to expand that, or are you happy with the way things are in that respect?
Well, that's a good question, and I think that's one I haven't come to a conclusion yet. I would like to expand, but there's risk there. You start taking on people, you're incurring costs, and you need to have the income. So part of me says, well, I'll do that when I've increased my income. But then the other bit of me says, well, you can't increase your income until you take someone on to have the resources to take on the work. So I'm kind of stuck in this chicken and egg little loop, and I vary one way or the other depending on what month it is. So I guess if the right circumstances came along and I got lucky, I would jump at the chance. If I'm going to have to proactively take that little risk, it might take a while. By which time I may have retired.
Right. It is a bit of a catch-22, and
it is. Yes.
And I was speaking the other day with Megan Walker, and we were going through this conversation, which her episode will probably come out before yours.
Right.
And now she's literally, it was day one for her starting out.
Yes, she's just done it, hasn't she? Yes.
We were talking about this question as well, and I mean, I've kind of flipped back to me, and I went through that hiring people and stuff, and we had a really successful business, but you realize just taking on one person doesn't double your output capacity, because now there's management involved and things like that. So there is a bit of a graph in terms of your productivity. It's not a straight line.
Indeed. And there's a ramp up until they become useful as well. Till the person's used.
Absolutely.
Because if you go and hire someone that's absolutely qualified who can work off day one, they're going to be expensive.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So, the other thing I've thought about is getting someone a little bit less qualified, cheaper, and then train them up a bit. But then you take a hit in your time. So, I guess you just got to sit down and decide what you're comfortable with.
Yeah, exactly. It's really depends. Do you want to be, and the question that came to me when I started way back when and started to hire people, a guy who ran a company, company now is a couple hundred people, and I know he started with 2 or 3. And he said, you're going to have to make a decision. Are you a technical or you're in operations? And he decided he was operations. He got his hands out of the technical stuff. And he said, my job is looking at the paper at the bottom right-hand corner and making sure that number stays black and doesn't turn red.
Yeah.
That's not for me.
That famous quotation of, you should work on the business, not in the business, if you want to grow it. Yeah.
So in terms of, are there any kind of resources or books or things that you could recommend that help you talk about working on the business?
Yes.
Anything that you've read that you found really helpful in
Yes.
what you do?
Can I go and get the book? It's here.
Yeah, sure.
There, if you can see this.
Yeah,
Do you
I
know the
can.
book?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I have it on my shelf as well.
You have it too. Yeah, I've read that one several times, and
Yeah.
that was quite a good guide for me.
Yeah, to me that is a must read, and for those of
Yeah.
you, I'll put the link in the show notes to the Amazon site or whatever. But that's one of my must read books because I think it's very interesting because the E myth is what they call the entrepreneurial myth. Like it's where you have that entrepreneurial seizure where I definitely read the book, but it's I think I'm working for a company, I'm doing something. I could do this on my own so much better than this company I'm doing the work for if I can just get rid of this. And the book sort of goes through the whole fallacy in that thinking a little bit, but talks really about putting systems together and things like that.
Yes.
So yeah, I totally agree that that's a great book.
Yeah. And the other thing that I would say to people is don't be afraid to pay others to do the things that you're not good at. Like having an accountant, or if you're going to grow and have staff HR services, there is already enough things to learn in Dynamics, like how learning to be an accountant, an HR person, and God knows what else. So, do the things you're good at.
Yeah, and that's also being involved in the community as well. If you have that community of experts, like if you need somebody, like I actually. I had to reach out to somebody who knew PHP. I don't have the time to learn PHP, and reached out to another group that I worked with in the past, and they had somebody, and like overnight, this person wrote this PHP code, which would have taken me weeks to do, to figure out.
Yeah, and it's obviously much better. You pay that person, and you get what you need.
Yeah, absolutely. Cool. Okay. So I think we're getting kind of close to sort of wrapping up our time or whatever. It's good little conversation. So I guess this is the question I sort of end with is, if anybody's out there, who's looking for a trainer, or are they looking for some services? Are you available for gigs or?
Absolutely. Always available. Yeah, sure. Thank you.
Excellent. Yeah, we're going to do a bit of advertising for you, Feridun.
Of course. Why not? Yes.
And I know that actually, while we're talking about this too, is on your website, you have a list of public courses
I do.
up as well.
Yes. So I offer a schedule of courses that are run in the office here in Stansted, Essex. They're all based around the Dynamics 365. I've also got Megan Walker's Forms Pro courses listed here, and she would be delivering those. So if you want to see her in action,
highly recommend
check out. So yes, do check that out. But if there's something that you want to learn about that isn't there, just drop me a line and I'll see what I can do for you.
Yeah, and I would say with your training site, your training facility as well, like it's literally, what is it, like 20 steps from the train station?
Oh, absolutely, yes, yeah. If you come out of the local station, Stansted Mount Fitchett, you could almost jump to the door.
Super easy to find, and great training facility, easy to get to. So yeah, I would, if you want to learn about Power Platform, Dynamics 365, and you're in the UK or actually anywhere in the world, you'll take people from anywhere, I believe.
Oh, absolutely.
I think it's as a Canadian, I really enjoyed staying in Stansted. It was the quaint English village with the pub and everything like that.
You liked the pub, didn't you?
I felt like I was in Coronation Street or something like that.
Yeah, maybe not quite Coronation Street. The accents would have been all wrong because that's up north.
Yeah, fair enough. Cool.
Yeah.
All right, Feridun, thanks for the chat today, and
I appreciate the time. Thank you.
Yeah, I look forward to meeting up with you again probably in a couple months at MVP Summit.
Oh, absolutely, sure. Yeah, very good.